Welcome to the Top Order podcast. Just me and Jamie here this evening for this fireside chat without a fire. We have got our cups of cocoa with us, not quite as cold as it is in the New Zealand fireside chats. We've got a cricketing podcast, one for the stats nerds, lots and lots coming at you as we dissect England's victory in the first test at Headingley, all coming up on the Top Order podcast. Stay tuned. Well, JB, we've been waiting for this moment, haven't we? Time zones not quite aligning to get our Antipodean colleagues on the call. We've got an England victory to talk about. Let's just lead into, I guess, setting the scene for the game that finished, probably 3 hours or so ago. I was just about to go and umpire my son's 100-ball game and was hanging on in the bar as England ticked down those final few runs. Jamie Smith doing it in a hurry, even after India had taken that second new ball. But look, certainly one for the cricketing statisticians. I guess Andy Zaltzman on TMS would have been going into overdrive with his red pens, his green pens, his yellow pens. Me and you probably aren't the two best top order podcasters to talk stats, but some stuff I've gleaned. Only 9 times prior to this game at a score in excess of 371 being chased down in the fourth innings of a test match. You mentioned, I think, a couple of things.
The fourth time in history, I think, 4 innings scores above 350. So that was the one. That was the one I gleaned. Yeah. What else have we got?
And then I just think that the one that really sort of stood off the page for me in terms of the stats for the game were England's scoring rate in the fourth innings. Yeah, just about half sort of 4.54 versus 4.61 in their first innings. So they chased down 370 at a rate in excess of 4.5 and over. But look, before we go into all of that, we've got a Slack channel going on, and the way that our Slack channel works on the top order is particularly Baldy and myself try and do what we call the reverse Moz. So ultimately you talk down your side's chances regardless of how well they're going so that you can, hopefully not put the kibosh on them. But if we go into the start of today's play, and maybe just forget the last 3 or 4 years cricket and go back to, the way Test cricket has evolved even in the last 20 years. Chasing down 350 last day, it sounded like it was a foregone conclusion in a lot of the media. But even at lunch, the cricket WinViz had the game pretty evenly pegged at lunch. 41% England, 41% India, and the balance on the draw. What did you genuinely think, weather aside, when you opened your curtains this morning and knew we'd got to chase down this sort of 350 in a day and 370 total?
Yeah, I thought it was on, and I think it's a mindset shift, isn't it? I think you go back 5-10 years and 370 on the final day. You would have probably said, well, you'd settle for the draw. You look to bat the day, but it's a complete role reversal. I think England have make it very, very clear that they want to play attacking cricket and they want to take the draw out of the equation. So I suppose in some ways that kind of has ramped up our expectations. But yeah, I thought the only thing that would potentially get in the way would be a deterioration in the pitch, which is unlikely at Headingley, or the weather. And I thought the deterioration of the pitch would lead to, India, particularly, maybe Jujeda as the spinner coming into it a lot more. But that didn't really happen. I thought the weather might kibosh the whole thing. But yeah, it's remarkable. And I think it's incredible of also as well the way in which it was done without a lack of drama. So to score 370 on the final day, one expects it to probably go quite close. Probably 8 down, 7 down, 9 down. Getting towards, there's only 5 overs left and you need 25, but they actually did it at a canter, and it felt slightly anticlimactic. I don't know what you felt, but it was like, Oh yeah, okay. Well, England have won. They've chased 370 because it was done without drama because of just incredibly how well they delivered that performance. And I think the more that they've embodied this approach, the more they become confident in it. And obviously, when you get success, that breeds more confidence in the process that you're doing. So I think it's going to be tough now facing this side in the rest of the series with this win because you think actually we've had three of our players, well, we've had one of our players score hundreds in both innings. We've taken wickets, we've scored loads of runs, and we've lost. Like it's that's pretty tough to recover from as an overseas touring party. But yeah, that's enough from me. I mean, I don't know what you thought. I mean, yeah, I just find it incredible that they've chased 370. It's just yeah.
Yeah, look, I do find it incredible, and I think probably when I kind of look at some of the stats, and I think to a large extent you've got to rip the stats book up now, particularly Headingley and the the run chases that we've seen there over probably the last 10 years or so. Remember the West Indies? I think Shea Hope getting double hundred, 200s in a game. And a fourth innings chase. We've obviously seen England do that as well a couple of times. Obviously Ben Stokes probably the one that really
Mm.
springs to mind in 2019. But yeah, all of those sort of historical things go out the window with Headingley having 170 average in the fourth innings and only 220, even if you look at a smaller sample size of the last 10 years. I think something you said just before we came on air, Jamie, and I don't want to steal your quote, but you said Bazball for grown-ups. And I think that's what probably summed up particularly this second innings from England. If I look at, last night was really, really important, getting through
Mm.
to stumps. And we only got through to stumps 20 without loss overnight. I've seen a stat again today. Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett don't have the highest average as an England opening partnership, but they have the highest runs per over. It's in excess of 5 runs per over and an average
Mad.
partnership of 46 or something like that. I'm sure that's gone up a little bit after their
Yeah.
stand of 188 today. But the way that they set that up overnight with that, 20 not out coming into day 5, they were circumspect to 50 runs. That they were sort of got there in around about 100 balls, accelerated, the 100 coming up in 149 balls, and then the 150 coming up in just over 200 balls. They really started to put the foot down when they needed to. But that platform that they set, and I think Ben Duckett will take a lot of the plaudits, and rightly so. And I'm sure we'll come on to talk about that innings in a bit more detail. But I also think you've got to give Zach Crawley a hell of a lot of credit for the way that he played in that stand. Because, he has been the less consistent of the pair over the course of the last couple of years. But the way that he just probably saw Duckett going along like a train, he kind of almost lined the ball up so well, rotated the strike, soaked up pressure, which is what Brendan McCullum has been
Mm.
talking a lot about in the media. But yeah, look, he looked mighty good, and the way those two set that chase up for the Iceman Joe Root to come in and finish it off with a little bit of help from his long term friend Stokes, and then little cameo from Jamie Smith at the end. It really is a comprehensive fourth innings score that didn't seem to daunt England at any time through the course of the Test match. It looked like this was the plan from the toss, which Ben Stokes won, and he's done it in boys' own fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it only sort of maybe I've come late to the party with this, but today was the first time I kind of realised why Crawley and Duckett complement each other. And it's blatantly obvious when I now think about it. But the fact that one of them is like 6 foot plus and the other one is you know,
Four
not
foot
six
11,
foot
yeah.
plus, 4 foot 11. means that from a bowler perspective, if you're rotating the strike, the length you've got to adjust your lengths like without really probably thinking about it. Because if you bowl the same length that you bowl into Duckett to Crawley, he's probably gonna latch onto it and smash you through the covers. Equally, Duckett's going to sit on the back foot and wait for the cut, or he's going to also, he's not going to get that stride into the ball that maybe Crawley has. So actually, the obvious thing is to go left and right hand, obviously. But when more you think about it, the tall, small combination means the footwork is less, so therefore it's putting the bowlers off their lengths a little bit more. And I actually think, cracky, that's genius. I wonder if it is one of the reasons why they have persevered with this, alongside obviously their other talents. But I thought we saw a very different Zach Crawley today. He's not always had the greatest success in the second innings. But I thought today, again, I think I said to you, this idea of baseball for grown-ups, it did feel a little bit like, the kids had passed their GCSEs and now they sort of gone into sixth form. It's like, okay, yeah, now we've got baseball version 2.0. There's a level of, and I know Stokes has spoke about this. If we're going to compete against India and Australia, we probably can't throw the kitchen sink at it all of the time. So therefore, we maybe have to go through the gearbox. And I thought today that was probably the most impressive thing. And I do also think that Jamie Smith is going to be a star. I think some of the shapes he gets into just look fantastic, and he doesn't look like he hits the ball. It just looks like pure timing, and he's a big guy. And I think if he seriously wants to whack it, he can do. But yeah, mightily impressive, mightily impressive. But yeah, maybe you'd made that observation about Crawley and Duckett far before me, but it suddenly dawned on me today. It's not just about left and right; it's about height as well. So
Yeah, look, absolutely, and I think I think it was NASA sounded a piece in the third man chair where he looked at the kind of impact points. But yeah, that said, one feature I thought of Duckett's innings, he's long been probably known as someone that's got the ability to hit the ball square really, really well. He's got those kind of hockey shots, hasn't he? Both off the seamers and the spinners. But he drove down the ground as well when they did over pitch to him. He did it
yeah,
in a different way to Crawley. Crawley, drives down the ground by getting a massive stride in and coming to meet the ball. Duckett almost had both feet in the crease, but just waited for people to over pitch, and then
mm.
really,
Got good hands, very
really,
good
really,
hands.
really,
Yeah,
really good hands. Let's go back to the start of the game and probably another one of those stats. We've got this is the fourth highest aggregate score by a team losing a men's test match. India scoring 835 runs in the game and 5 centurions. If we go back, I guess, to even just both first innings completed, 471 with 300s for India, and just the one, but also a 99, of course, for Harry Brook for England. And then even India's second innings, a couple of centurions in KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant. Any concerns over that Indian batting lineup? Do you think, and where do we want to heap some obvious praise on this Indian batting lineup from this test?
yeah. I mean, I think the obvious praise is that it are the Centurions. I mean, I thought Gill, KL Rahul, and Pant were magnificent in they were all probably hundreds of very different styles. I thought KL Rahul, I thought he was box office. To be fair, he's probably again technically very very good. He's probably not always delivered those performances, but I thought that he was exceptional. The tempo in which he batted. I thought Gill equally was very measured and very good on the eye. Pant, not one for the purists, but crikey, it's effective and it's aggressive. If you were being brutally honest, they should have got 550 in their first innings,
Yeah,
and
fair.
then that's a different game. And I think what we're seeing is their lower order is unlikely to contribute. They are missing your Ashwin, and then he's been a stalwart lower down the order to get runs. It looks very fragile, and I think you would look at it and go, yeah, like 1 to 7 probably looks decent, but 8, 9, 10 Jack, do look like a licorice all sorts, and it could be. They all could bat 11. Probably that's probably quite unfair, but it doesn't look like they're going to get too many runs. So I think that's why I think they were probably 80 short. Because if the lower order contribute in that first innings, they get 550. That means then England are potentially chasing in excess of 400 in the fourth innings, which I think would have been out of reach, given the state of play. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether that you think that's harsh. I don't know what your thoughts are. Um, I thought Sundaresan, you got to persevere. I thought he looked nervous
Yeah,
in the first innings. I thought second innings he played within himself, but there's big pressure coming in, particularly at three. But hopefully they'll stick with him. He's shown his quality for sure.
yeah. I think probably a couple of things for me on the Indian batting. I wonder whether they've got the order of their deck chairs quite right. I don't know whether Sudarsan, should be batting at
Mm.
three. You've got, Karen Nair there as well, who's got a Test match triple century. Let's not forget. So I think,
Yeah,
there might be a conversation there just around moving the deck chairs around a little bit. Ravi Jadeja coming in as low as 7. He's batted at definitely batted at 5. So I think there's some kind of permutations there that they might want to look at. But I think they're gonna rue, I think, the chance that they needed to get a little bit more out of the tail. That first innings, what was it? They went from what was it, 430 for 4 to 470 all out, and then likewise in the second innings they've gone from 4 for 287 to 364 all out. So
yeah,
just a little bit of a wag of 20 or 30 runs in, certainly in both of those innings, even if in either of those innings, and then a couple of other things going their way, perhaps some of the fielding, which we'll come on to. It's a slightly different complexion on the Test match. If we're being critical on England's first innings, any sort of concerns there? Harry Brook, I think, is I don't know if there's a stat there, but he's the most dropped player of all time, or something. There's some stat
mm,
about 16 drop catches or something like that he's had in the last year or so, and cashed in on a lot of those. So
yeah.
can't blame him for cashing in. But any concerns about the way that England's batting performance lined up in the first innings? Could they have been a little bit more ruthless?
Yeah, maybe, maybe. I mean, I think people are going to always point to, Brook getting out on 99. I mean, I personally don't have a problem with it. It's a number,
Yeah,
and if you execute the plan which he was executing, he just, well, he didn't quite execute the plan, but as soon as you change that, the whole plan falls apart. So he executed the whole ethos, and he bought into that. It is a number. And I think what England have done really well is separating themselves from the outcome, to enable them to play free. So it's easy to go, oh, what a stupid shot on 99, but I don't, as I said, I don't have a problem with that. Maybe they could have gone bigger. I got a sense that they kind of wanted to have a bowl. That was the sense I got, that they got a bit of a lead, but they actually wanted to get India back in and have a go, rather than maybe take too much time out of the game by batting on. And I suppose in hindsight, it's worked really well for them. Um, yeah, I don't think there was too many concerns. I mean, Pope, was magnificent. So I think it's easy to it's easy to kind of forget that given Duckett's performance, but I think Pope's innings was, yeah, the pressure that he's been under, the scrutiny, and we've probably questioned his role at some point. But I thought again that was a magnificent display of how to play in those pretty tough conditions. To be fair.
Yeah, no, we've definitely elected the right Pope this time. Yeah, this time round. Um, let's maybe come on to the bowling stew. So, sorry, Jamie. So, um, if we kind of look at, I suppose we look at England first because, they had the opportunity to obviously bowl India out twice and then set up that chase. Lots been said about who's not in the side. We've obviously had a couple of pretty notable retirements in the past couple of years, and then some injury as well to Mark Wood, who you would have thought would have definitely been here at Headingley had he been fit. But yeah, what do we think about England's? I might make a word up penetrativeness here through the course of the Test match. We've had a couple of we've had a couple of tail burgles, haven't we, for Josh Tongue? But any concerns about this England? What is a 6-man attack if you throw a bit of spin from Joe Root in there?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you comment on Bryson Cars because I know you're a fan, and I thought my take on that was I thought his stock went up, and I started to think about how exciting it will be to see him in Australia because I thought the lengths he bowled, I thought, and the extra bounce he got, and the way he hit the pitch, I thought I could see him being a problem, particularly how he got KL ruled out in the second innings where he pitch wasn't particularly doing much. He got a bit of extra bounce and he's chopped on. I thought, that's a dismissal you can see quite a bit in Australia, particularly with the Kookaburra. So I was excited by him. I thought Tong bowled well against he bowled with good pace. I thought he bowled well, particularly well against the tail. Um, I thought Wokes at one point looked really, really tired and really, really stiff. And I think that was kind of that would have been day two, day three, might have been day three. And he came back for a final spell, and crikey, his speed was down. But then he started to get a bit of movement the following morning, and he looked a little bit more like his old self. I think, yeah, that penetrativeness, as you describe it, I think, when you take Archer, Wood, Atkinson out of the equation and others, it probably lacks that star effect, as it were. Um, but equally, they seem to fulfill some, their roles for the most part. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, I think we've eulogised about Cars. I definitely feel his stock went up, but yeah, I mean, yeah, where would you be at with the bowling attack? I know you were perhaps saying, oh, it looked a bit blunt and at times, but
Yeah, look, I think in retrospect, we've seen a really, really high scoring Test match. We've gone through some of the stats there, so wasn't really a Test match to be a bowler in, was it? When you've got that many centuries knocking around and the scores that we saw at the rates that we saw as well, very quick outfield at Headingley as well, that can really get away from you. I think Wokes definitely looked better in the second innings for some miles in his legs. And I think that's, look, it might be a bit of a cliche, but he is one of those bowlers that I think needs to have some miles in the legs, and really having come back from injury has only had that Lions game, I think, to do that. There's some guys that don't need to bowl, and Ben Stokes, I think, would be a fantastic example of that. He was the pick of the bowlers for England in that first innings. I think even with Josh Tongue's wickets, Stokes was the most consistent and had the best economy rate, and looked the most likely to take wickets. So I think that will come in terms of which bowlers need that sort of wrapping in cotton wool and which actually need to bowl overs. What I liked about Cast was he was operating in and around that sort of 85 to 87 miles an hour in old money. He was getting a little bit of shape. I think that, we've always got to cast forward, I think, to the Ashes. And I think the thing that makes Hazelwood, Stark and Cummins so good that we perhaps overlook at times is that as much as, Stark gets, plenty of movement in the air, Hazelwood nips the ball around. They are brilliant at exploiting whatever conditions are on offer. They always seem to find the right length to bowl and put put teams under pressure. I just felt, particularly in the first innings, it took a while for England to find the right lengths.
Mm.
And that's something I think they're going to need to do a lot better when they go to Australia and through the course of this summer as well. Particularly Carson and Tong, if they're in that attack, are going to need to be able to do that. And then we are going to need, that kind of workhorse, if you like, that can come in and just consistently hammer away at, fourth stump, just back of a length. So for me, it is doing some of those basic things right. And then the final thing I want to say in the bowling, I'm really gutted we don't have Stu on the pod, is I thought Shoaib Bashir bowled really well, particularly when Pant got going in that second innings. He was trying a lot of different shots, and I felt that Bashir, didn't sort of clean up from a wickets perspective, but he did a laudable job and bowling his stock ball and trying to bowl it well and bowl into the plan that he'd set. And sometimes you're going to get hit over long on for six when you've got a player as destructive as Rishabh Pant. So some positives for that England bowling attack. I think what I'd like to see is just that tiny bit more consistency as we come into the next test. And interesting that Jofra Archer apparently has kind of gone through the gears for Sussex today. First spell that I saw on the stream. He didn't look rapid. He kind of worked up the gears and was getting a few through at a pretty decent lick on a slow deck for Sussex. So bodes well. I think that we might have a little bit more stock to choose from as we go through the course of the season. And India's bowling, real tale of two innings, wasn't it? Bumrah, Pfeiffer in the first innings, and the other wickets shared between the two seamers. Although Krishna going for nearly 6.5 and over, but second dig, no wickets for Bumrah, no wickets for Siraj, and then just the 5 wickets sort of mixed amongst the rest of them. Should India be concerned at that bowling performance in the fourth innings, or are we giving more credit to England's batting?
Good question. I think given it's the state of the pitch, i.e., it was still good to bat on, I think you kind of have to say well played England. But that said, it looked a very different bowling attack to the first innings. Bumrah, exceptional first innings. I mean, what some of the deliveries. I mean, crikey, I think the last over he bowled to Brook on day 2 when he got him out on a no ball. I mean, the game could have been different. Well, there'd certainly been 99 runs shorter, but he bowled him a bouncer, I think, the second to last ball of the day, and it nearly took his head off. I mean, it's probably one of the best overs. I think people often talk about Flintoffs against Ponting in the 2005 Ashes. I thought that over was up there. Talk about being tested. Last over of the day, 87, 88 miles an hour, and then just slipped a gear with this bouncer that kind of came from nowhere. So I thought it was exceptional in the first innings. I think the second innings, I think what you're starting to see now, unfortunately, is somebody who is probably, the wrong age. He's got quite a few legs in the miles in the legs, even, and I think this injury, he's having to look after it. The fact he can only play 3 of 5 Test matches, demonstrates where we're at, and it's a real shame, really, because it's an incredible talent. But I think the point I'm trying to get to is that Indian attack will look very, very different without him. And you just wonder where he's going to be the talisman, because at the moment he's kind of the go-to that Gill throws the new ball to every time, or if they're trying to get a wicket. And at the moment, without him, it's kind of like, what is your option now? Do I see Siraj doing that? I'm not sure. I think a tale of good batting from England, but equally there seemed to be quite a drop off. I thought Jadeja might be a little bit more effective than he was. Um, I don't think he bowled badly, but I did think he would probably, be more effective than he was. But yeah, how did you see it? I mean, yeah, we've eulogised a lot about Bumrah for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of first innings really sort of threw me back to those conversations that I can't remember who it was, probably John Arlott or someone who's when New Zealand came and toured, it was like you've got Richard Hadley at one end and Ilford thirds at the other end. I don't think it was quite as bad as that in that first innings for India, but particularly even the rhetoric of the commentators was like, well, the other guys are just sort of bowling until Bumrah's able to come back on again. But yeah, I think in that that second innings, I don't think it helped that the ball went soft on them pretty early. And
Mm.
they were trying to get it changed for a long, long time, and when they did it, it did a little bit. But yeah, I think India are going to be pretty concerned about the workloads from Bumrah. He's bowled nearly 45 overs in this Test match. Um, there's a little bit of a break, so then the next one is the 2nd of July. So I think, certainly from a preview perspective, we'll wait to make any comments on what likely team makeups are going to be, because there'll probably be a few on the hospital ward over the next week or so that we can keep an eye on.
Mm.
But yes, I think it's got to be a concern. Their backup seamers, and then probably just the balance of that side that they're going to need to look at with, Jadeja coming in at 7 and being a bowling option. Can they get another bowling option into that top 7 somehow? With one of the other all rounders, and then it takes away potentially a little bit from the batting, but gives them different bowling options coming into that second Test match in a week or so's time.
I mean, thinking of second test, it's going to be at Edgbaston. It's closer to you than it is me, but what do you know about Edgbaston? I guess we almost kind of a similar type of surface, I guess, but
Yeah, I mean, I think
yeah,
lower scoring. I
lower
think
scoring. Yeah,
in
yeah.
recent times. I think similarly with the drainage that's gone in there, the dry weather that we've had. It is a quick scoring ground as well. A ground that I think the England team love playing at as well. But then I think to counter that, Edgbaston in Birmingham in a very densely populated area for a lot of Southeast Asian communities. So I think we'll see a real party atmosphere and probably equally as many India fans in there as England fans. So I think it's going to be, hopefully a cracking Test match. But look, as I've said in the Slack channel today, Lippy's trying to goad me into, he wanted to hear genuine delight. And I think, I am genuinely delighted about this win. When you put it into the context of all the stats that we've talked about, but also, I think importantly, what probably I've been asking for a long time on the pod is I wanted to see this sort of, and you've coined it really, really well. I wanted to see Bazball for grown-ups, and that's what we've seen in this Test match. We've seen, I think, a little bit of that soaking up of pressure that Brendan McCullum's talked about last night and this morning to set a platform. Because without that platform today, it would have been a lot more nerve-wracking chasing these runs down. If we'd have gone in, 80 for 2 off 10 overs or whatever, we'd have been going, oh, well, that was entertaining for a bit, but we those 2 wickets have really cost us and put us out of a chance of chasing this target down on the final day. The way that we've set that up with 188 for 1, is the stuff that Bazball dreams are really made of. They've set it up to be consistent, and realistically, that chase never looked in doubt today.
No, no, it
Which,
didn't.
to say that about a chase of 370 is just the world's gone. Yeah, the world's gone balmy, hasn't it?
I think this test match proved one thing, one adage that always stacks up though. If you take your catches, you will invariably win your matches, and I think it still proves that that statement. No matter how much we try to reinvent cricket, that does hold true. And I think, that was quite nice actually to reflect on it and go, yeah, we've seen all these stats and all this, but actually, if you take catches, you will probably increase the likelihood of winning matches. And I think both teams were guilty of dropping a lot, and then probably mitigating circumstances. But I thought,
Yeah, India dropped 7 catches, Jamie, in the Test match, and we talked about it a
yeah,
little bit off there. How much of that is that that mitigation of Headingley apparently being a difficult seeing ground?
yeah. I think you were saying I think you have an element of sympathy. Some grounds are not easy to pick the ball up, particularly if there are coloured seats or darkened backgrounds or whatever. But I think one of the things was just some of the positions that players were getting, Indian players in particular, that were either late to the ball, or not moving quick enough, I guess, which is late to the ball, but just not getting into good positions. And I think that was the thing that, yeah, I mean, I think the one that Brook dropped. He dropped KL Rule, didn't he? He clearly didn't pick that up. Like that, you could see that from. So he was in a
Yeah,
good position. He got his hands high, and it just hit him rather than him reacting. But I thought some of the others just looked a little bit like they're on their heels, probably not, concentrating as much as they should, and yeah, that ultimately they're having to move too late, which means their timing wasn't great. So yeah, I thought I expected more. I expected better, I think, and yeah, definitely room for improvement. Notwithstanding, we know what happens in England. When the ball goes past, takes an edge. If the seam gets upright, it can do stuff.
yeah,
And yeah, we know that is possible. But I think that would definitely be a work on ahead of the second test. To get to practice your slip fielding in English conditions with the ball getting upright, and so you can deal with it. And yeah, I think that's felt they just looked a bit leggy, I thought, in the field. But
yeah.
maybe that's
Yeah, and look, I think when we kind of look back at some comparisons, yeah, it'd be interesting to know what Indian fans think about that. I think Jaiswal dropped 2 or 3 catches, two in the outfield as well, and Virat Kohli's Indian side, regardless of who was captain, but every side that he was in, he really raised that fielding standard and fitness standard.
mm.
So I think it's got to be now on, Shubman Gill and his leadership group to really see if that's warranted. And what I hope is if they do have concerns over the quality of some of these guys fielding. Let's be honest, someone like Jaiswal has just broken onto the scene through franchise cricket, become a 3 format player pretty quickly. Probably not spent a massive amount of time really honing that fitness and fielding stuff, and hasn't had the time to do it. I hope that if they need to, they take that those kind of players into a room and just say, look, we as a side collectively, we need to make sure that we're all working on these things that we can impact in the field, get ourselves up to a standard where we're all absolute gun fielders. And that's going to give themselves the best opportunity of rectifying that. But yeah,
I think it's a good point. I think that's why it was like the Kohli sides as you described them. I think the standard was so good. I think that's why it just looked. It was like, crikey, this is not what I'm used to seeing of an Indian side of recent years. Normally extremely high intensity, high aggression out in the field. Yeah, like taking a high percentage of catches. It just looked like there'd been a drop off a little bit. But yeah, lots of factors as to why that could be, I guess.
brilliant. Well, Jamie, as we said at the top, I think plenty more cricket to come in this series. We'll preview inevitably the second Test match and get some neutral views from the boys in New Zealand later in the week. But I think in signing off, let's give Stu what he wants and some genuine delight. What's the biggest tick you've taken out of this game, that the thing that's leaving you with a smile on your face at the close of play today?
Yeah, I just think England have the fact that we've won a difficult Test match with a different dimension to Bazball, and I think that. if you're an Australian fan, I'd be slightly worried, I think, looking at that performance, because I'm thinking, oh, okay, England are not just going to go smash, smash, smash. They've actually got a different way of playing now, and they've done that against one of the best teams in the world. So I think that was something I'll be, quietly smiling about inside. Yeah, I look forward to Baldy's response on that. But yeah, what are you gonna what are you taking from it?
Yeah, look, what I'm taking from it is the promise of uh, a new breed of seaming attack. Yeah, really, I'm excited about some of the permutations that we've got, and we can't get them all on the park. But I thought, for different reasons, both Cars and Tongue impressed in this Test match. Plenty of raw materials to work with there for Baz McCullum. But it's got to be really just Ben Duckett's celebration for that second innings 100. Over 200 runs in the match. Let's not forget he got 60 odd in the first innings as well, and has really become a gem of a format player for England. And yeah, the heartbeat of this side, and yeah, as you said, setting up a calm run chase, not a frenetic run chase, a calm run chase of 370 in the fourth dig. This is this is exciting stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Well, look, that's about all we've got time for here on this late Tuesday evening here in the UK. Really, really looking forward to the second Test match in this series, which takes place not too far away from my hometown of Birmingham in a week or so's time. And then I don't want to look too far ahead, Jamie, but I've got a trip to Lords planned as well for that third Test, which I'm fizzing about. Hopefully. Plenty more cricket of a high quality to come over this English summer. But now it's good night from me and Jamie here in the UK. We'll see you next time on the Top Order podcast. Good night.